Hello.
Okay, so obviously I'm Ashley of Support Your Design, and today I brought Megan on because we're going to talk about, I keep calling it an epiphany experience that we had a couple days ago, the end of May, beginning of June, like those 2 days. And we realized after an experience that we had that we were going through the 63rd gene key, the city and the shadow. We were in the shadow, and then we saw the city behind the shadow. So it was so amazing. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that experience and let you guys know kind of what we were going through at the time, and then how we were looking at it with a different perspective, with a different attitude, with a different vibe later that allowed us to see the magic behind it. So Megan, why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Okay. Hey, your voice and everything is like shorting out a ton. Is it doing it on
Oh
your
my
side?
God, too much energy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's crazy. So, hi, I'm Megan Covington, and you can reach me at megancovington.com. I do conscious quantum energy facilitating, which basically some people call it readings. I just call it being conscious and aware, and that's what I do. So you know what? I'm just a really good listener. That's what I am. Really good at being in the B state.
Nice, nice.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And that's part of your gene keys. That's part of your purpose, is to understand what it is to be and being. Yeah, I'm really fuzzy and my internet's weird, but I think maybe it's also because my kids are hijacking my internet too. Like they have YouTube and they have video games. So, 1 second. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Guys, can you get off YouTube, please? Because it's messing up with my podcast. Yeah, can you play your tablets, please, while I'm on? We're just going to turn it off. Okay, let's see what this does. We will see.
Okay, cool.
All right, so people are commenting and everybody's hopped back on. So let's talk about the experience. So this happened on May 31st, so I don't remember what day that was. But we were talking to our really good friend, and we were on Zoom together, and she had started to talk about an energy that she was feeling, and then going into talking to Megan about advice that she was receiving for her. And I could sense, like, I couldn't connect to where she was getting that information, and I couldn't connect to like what she was seeing. All I could connect to was Megan and what she was experiencing. And so Megan, why don't you tell it from your perspective, because we'll start with that and what we were going through, and then we can move on from there, since it was kind of like I was sharing your experience, since it was kind of more directed towards you.
It was very blank. I could process what I was being told, and I could hear what I was being told, but I couldn't connect to it at all. Like I felt like, as Ashley, you talked about it being like in a white room. And before that actually happened, I saw a visual of like more bricks going in the wall. Okay. So this is like a multi-layered thing. So I wasn't connecting. I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't know where to navigate through it. And so I had all these emotions going on inside of me of, oh my gosh, I can't feel this. I can't see this. I hear this, but I'm not understanding this. And it was like everything was blank to me. Blank. Like I was floating in pure whiteness. And and she's like, you're getting this, aren't you? And I'm like, no, I'm not getting this. But I didn't pass it off as like, this is bad information. And this is here another lesson in this whole experience as well. I just tossed it back, and I'm like, it's something I'm going to have to sit with. And that's really when the inquiry within myself and in the experience actually started to unfold more so for Ashley and I. So go ahead and do you want to tell what you were experiencing through me while I was going through
Yeah,
that?
actually, sorry, I'm moving into another room because I feel like I need to be inside. Hold on, guys, I'm on. Play with your tablet. Play with your tablet. Sorry, I'm moving to a different room. There we go. In my guest room. Okay, so while you were going through that, I was going through a similar experience because I was really feeling into and feeling like what you were going through, and it definitely felt like there weren't any words to explain the feeling. It was just you either surrendered to the feeling or you started to judge it and ask yourself what you weren't getting, why you weren't receiving anything, because you weren't receiving any information.
No, it was like zero, nothing. There were no words. There was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. So it made you kind of question, why am I not receiving this? Why am I not feeling or seeing or sensing what this other person was feeling? And it was a little bit, it wasn't frustrated. I wasn't frustrated. I didn't feel frustrated. I just felt like I was waiting for something. And I kept, the only thing that I could tap into was Megan and what she was experiencing. And getting a little bit of visuals here and there with things that I knew that she was relating with, like the things that this girl was saying to her, like about being in like a room of mirrors. I was seeing that, or like the unicorn thing. I was seeing that because Megan had experienced it, so she had a memory to look back on that the other girl was picking up on. But it was so weird and it was so confusing. And that's kind of, we didn't realize that we were in that state either. I feel like we were just present and being. It's not like we were thinking, or at least I was thinking like, oh, this is the shadow of confusion, or we're in this gene key. Like, you don't think about that. You're just in it and present. It's not until you start contemplating and thinking about it later that you realize where you had been.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was, if I could give the visual, if I may, I felt like not only was everything, I know everything was white, but I was turning, like I could feel my energy moving, trying to find for a minute, you were waiting and I was waiting as well, but I was also investigating, like, what is this? And I was, it's just like what you said, there were no words for it. There's no description for it. You're just moving through it. And it's like you're trying to grab onto something. It's like your rational mind trying to make sense of what was going on. Like, what is this that I'm feeling? It's complete blankness. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And I remember her asking me later, like, oh, what are you feeling? What are you getting? And I was like, I don't even know. I don't know. I couldn't elaborate. I couldn't go into detail. I just was trying to understand what she was saying with my mind and not feeling the energy in my heart.
Yes.
And I think that was the biggest thing, because when you can't connect to somebody intellectually, you start doubting yourself. And you start being like, what am I not getting? What am I not seeing? What's not being, how is she not articulating in the right way? And you go through this whole conversation in your head it's judgment, because you're judging what you are or are not receiving.
Yeah, you're attaching to everything that's being said, when you move into that. And so that evening when I had it, in my dream time, I went to sleep. Is that all right that I go here? Okay, cool. So everything was complete blackness this time. I mean, complete blackness, but it smelled like a forest to me. And I could feel the dirt on my feet, and I was walking, and it wasn't a fearful state at all. It was just walking. And again, it felt blank. There was nothing there. And then I felt like this frustration rise up in me. And I just sat on, I was like spinning in circles, like, which way? And I remember saying this which way am I going? Where am I going? I don't understand this, And so and all this energy started to build around me. And it's like, I just went to the floor of the earth and was sitting there. And I felt like the energy pull up from the earth and into my body. And I just sobbed and was sobbing and sobbing. And Then I heard very clearly, I am trust yourself. Love your truth as you love theirs. Trust yourself. Love your truth as you love theirs. I'm going to say it again. Trust yourself. Love your truth as you love theirs. And then immediately after that, as that was being said, it was simultaneous. There was a complete gold. Oh my gosh, there were these colors that just like surrounded all around me, and it wasn't dark anymore, which the dark felt comforting and holding me. And like the black womb, that's what it felt like. And it got brighter and brighter and brighter, and I just felt cradled. And so then I woke up in the morning and we started talking. I was like, well, so we were both simultaneously going through things, not knowing that we were until we connected. And I was like, on the 63rd and the 64th gene key, I was like, oh my gosh. I was totally in confusion, which moved me into self-doubt. I mean, it can move you anywhere when you stay in the shadow state, when you don't surrender to it, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was incredible. It was, I mean, because isn't this Siddhi? Is that how you say it?
Siddhi?
Yeah. This
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah, it's all the same, right? Mm-hmm. But it was like, it was illumination. It was illumination, right? And mm-hmm. I just didn't even put that together until we started talking. So taking all the time, you talk. Tell me what you went through.
I like it. Actually, because this is where Megan got to, is where we are starting to reflect back. But in the present moment of confusion, it's very uncomfortable. And you're like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like where I'm at. And so after we got off the Zoom call with her, we hopped on a call together and we're like, we need to shift this. So like I went outside and we started to talk through it and kind of release what we were talking about it, releasing. It's very important to have mindfulness and to acknowledge, accept, and embrace what you're experiencing and not judge it and not give yourself like, oh, I can't believe I was there. I can't believe, because of all the stuff that we are saying in our heads and what we were experiencing and the confusion and the doubt and all that stuff. And then we start, it's lowering your frequency. It's putting yourself into the victim mindset, and it's giving your power away to the experience, to the circumstance, to the other person. And we just had to talk through it and shift it. And even after, like, I felt good after talking to Megan, but there was still like, I felt like I needed to brush stuff off of myself. I felt like
there was a sticky resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it felt like.
Megan kept saying, or not kept saying, she had mentioned to me that she felt like she had a wetsuit on. And actually in the shadow, because I did want to talk about the shadow before we go too deep into the city. Because I don't think that the only time that we experienced the gift of it was when I started to draw. When we were in confusion, talking about it, I had no words. I didn't know what was going on. I was in confusion. She was in confusion. And I got this really strong pull to just draw. And as soon as I started drawing, there was so much energy coming out of me into the paper. And anytime I like put my hand over the paper, I felt all the energy in it. And I was like, oh my God, it was transmuting. Mm-hmm. So I was drawing, like, this is that hall of mirrors that we were talking about. And I think I drew an eye for illusion and shadow or something. I don't know why. And then ended up being is or something. I don't even know. But I drew this initially and I showed this to the girls and I'm like, look at what I'm drawing. And then the other girl had an explanation for like what this was, but I just felt like all this energy with it. And I was drawing certain things as the girl was talking about it, and it was interesting. She was like talking about a soapbox, and I had been drawing a box, and these ended up being unicorn horns. I was like, what is going on here? So that's kind of what is important to understand about the shadow frequency, because we all go into it at times, because what we're tapping into is collective. Confusion happens because we're collective. We are one with everything. And so we share all the emotions, all the feelings, all the thoughts. And sometimes you can't even like connect to your own self. And what we were experiencing was blankness. But what some people experience in this gene key is all the pain, all the suffering, everything that everyone is experiencing as a collective, since we are a collective. And if you tap into the collective consciousness, you're going to tap into the vibe of it. And as a collective, our vibe is pretty low as a human species. And so what you are tapping into when you let your mind quiet and when you tap into that collective consciousness is you're tapping into the shadow, the lower vibrations and the confusion, because it's going to confuse you because you're like, I don't know where this is coming from. And it may be confusing. And so there are a lot of people that constantly are asking themselves, why am I feeling this? Why do I feel like this is such a big issue for me? Because you're tapping into everything. And so the most important thing for you to do when you get this is to start drawing, start creating, start doing something with that, because you're feeling it for a reason, and you can take this as an opportunity to transmute it. And you don't have to make it mean anything about you. It's not you. It's all. Yeah, you can have those. It's all of us. And so what you do for yourself in those times of need, you're doing for everybody, transmuting for everyone. So it's important to be mindful that when you say, even as an empath, I know some of us say, oh, this isn't mine. It is yours. Take responsibility and ownership for what you are putting into the collective, which is yourself at a deeper level. It is the I am. It is you. It is all of you. And so when you're experiencing it, you're experiencing what it feels like at a collective level to tap into that energy that we're all operating at, you know?
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add?
I have a major echo.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Going back to the confusion state. Yeah, because I clearly know that's where I was at. I was in a confusion state. And then, the 64th gene key goes into the 22nd gene key, which is grace, right? And it talks about in there that how not allowing yourself grace in that, that moment can push you into other frequencies of like guilt, and that is suffering. So when you just keep staying there, you keep feeling the suffering of it, instead of
in this. No, not here, bud. Hold on a second. Keep
yeah.
Not here. No, not here.
So when you're not allowing yourself the grace to move through something, you just stay in that confusing state. And really, when you just, like, I just sat back and just absorbed everything that had happened with that. I mean, I was silent. Like, I felt silent. And when I talked to Ash and Allie as well, I just said, I feel like in this deep, like, introspection. And it felt like mine, like I'll take ownership of mine, but it wasn't just mine, just like what Ashley said. I was going through a huge transmutation of trust and, with grace, it was unbelievable, beautiful. It was incredible. Like, I felt so blessed to be able to be doing that, being a part of what we are and acknowledging it and having the awareness that I'm just as accountable as everybody else with my words and my, well, that's a whole other thing, right? The words, but the intent that you put into something is very powerful. I just went off.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And if you guys are any of you guys diving into the 7 sacred seals, I know my friend Joanna is, the 7th seal is the 22nd gene key, and it says grace is suffering. And it's about taking on the collective suffering. It's about taking on all that, but you don't have to experience suffering. You don't have to experience that. And by allowing grace and love and all that is, and being in that energy without judging it, it is a beautiful experience. And that is awesome that it is connected to that one, because I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm just feeling no words. And I'm starting to hear the echo too. It just came. But I did want to talk about Some of the things that it was saying in the book, because I highlighted some of them that we were definitely going through, and I was like, this is amazing, because we didn't realize we were in the 64th GBT at all. It was after the fact. And so it says, it sweeps across our world like a blanket, smothering, disempowering, and screening the mass consciousness from the true nature of reality. And that's the kind of like wetsuit, wet blanket thing that Megan was talking about, because it's what we allow to cover us. The confusion comes in as like this fog, and it could be heavy. It could feel like a wet blanket. It could feel like a wetsuit. It just feels like you're weighed down because of the density of the shadow. Right? And it goes on to say, the human mind attempts to, only when the human mind attempts to interpret it does it become bewildering. So when we start trying to think about the experience and label it and judge it, it becomes so bewildering. If you are able to look into this primal state of consciousness without engaging your mind in any way, you will see the true nature of being manifested as illumination. So when you're not judging it, when you are just being and observing it, you experience the illumination of it. When your mind starts going crazy, you start painting the picture on the blankness of illumination. Because illumination is like set point, 0 point. It's true being. It's whiteness or blackness. It's just this being state. And it's like a canvas for you to paint on. So you get to decide how you want to experience this illumination. And so what we were experiencing was confusion, because we were painting on top and putting things on top of that pure state of illumination.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, because we were sitting in illumination, which we didn't realize, but it felt, I mean, I guess what my idea of illumination would be like, whoa, but it's complete silence. And you're ready to create something. It was a creative feeling that was just like, where are you going? How are you being? How are you being? And how are you being? And how are you creating with that? But I had never recognized that before, ever. And so I was like in confusion. I'm like, what is this whiteness? I can't grasp onto anything. That's how I felt, right? And so I definitely moved myself into confusion, which was is equally as powerful as illumination, because I got to experience what confusion is like. And and once you sit back and just be in it, you move through it. Like you said, it's the transmutation. It's beautiful. So it's not about, again, you don't fight the shadows. The shadows are you. The shadows are the collective. The shadow is all, all that is as well. It's all the same. It's just how you want to move through it. I say that time and time again, but our heads get all up in the game, right? Like, oh my gosh, and this medium said this, and this psychic said this, or, my friend said this, my mom said that, my dad, my sister, brother. So that's what I am. Did you hear that? When you can look at it any way you want, you are everything. The noise and the not noise. But you're perfectly perfect anywhere you're at. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like at our core, at our being state, like it is that whiteness, that nothingness. And what's beautiful about that is you get to paint yourself. You get to create yourself. It is in the silence that there's nothingness, right? Because you always hear them say that we're nothing and everything at the same time. Well, the whiteness is that nothingness. And then you get to decide what labels you want to give yourself, what attributes you want to give yourself, what gifts you want to give yourself. But if you think about it, as a collective, we're all of them. We're all of them painted on that white space. And so the more we're able to accept, embrace, and acknowledge that we're all connected and we're all the same, and we all share that same white space.
And black space.
And black space. Yep, exactly. And black space. The more connected we feel, the more united we feel. And I love that I was able to be in that white space in my own silence before I actually had that experience with Megan. I didn't know what I was in before. Remember, guys, I went live and was like, okay, I'm going to connect you guys and let's see what builds in this white space. Well, that was the Siddhi of Illumination. And I was just popping into the gift of creation and seeing what created in this white space with you guys present with me. And with Megan and I, we were together in that white space. So what I'm also feeling is that whenever somebody tastes the Siddhic state, anyone that you come in contact with tastes it as well. So it's like passing the experience on, passing the knowledge on, because it's in your energy. And so all of you guys that were on the live, all you guys listening to this now, you have an ability to tap into the energy that we're putting out right now for you to experience the same thing. It's just about mindfulness and giving attention to that so that you can experience it. And you get to choose when you're in this white space. Are you going to be in the gift or you're going to be in the shadow? They're both experiences and they're neutral. It's what you decide. So we need to stop looking at the shadows as something we need to run away from and just see them as neutral and see them as experiences that we get to paint our lives with. And that's...
Yeah, just whatever palette you want to create, color palette you want to create with.
Mm-hmm.
All the colors are love, all of them.
Uh-huh.
So, and whatever, intention and attention that you want to put onto those is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that's going to attach meaning to it, meaning to the words. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
The meaning we attach to it. Somebody just said, I don't have 64, but I have two of the codon ring partners, 6 and 40. What me and Megan were talking about actually earlier is that when me and Megan come together, we make up the whole ring of alchemy. So her dominant energies of the 40th and the 64th, because remember the 63rd is the programming partner of the 64th. So that energy, you have both of them. And so she comes together and I have 47 and 6. So when we come together, it starts alchemizing. And we have that whole codon. So we're able to experience the codon ring of alchemy and what it does. And it's beautiful. Well, and you guys know that we have all of the 64 gene keys. It's not that it's the 11 that's in our gene key profile that are very dominant. Like it's where we tend to put our focus towards most of the time. We have all the 64th ones, but the 11 that's there, you're kind of organically and naturally focused on. So you experience them greater. So they vibrate in your energy field more than the other ones. So when me and Megan come together, she's adding to me and I'm adding to her. So it's kind of like we complete that ring of alchemy. So we both, in our interaction, experience that codon ring of alchemy. So relationships are very important here because you get to experience all these things that you don't experience as an individual, as separate. And so it reminds us of our unity with each other because we create something beautiful and bigger when we come together.
Community,
yes.
Unity in community.
Community, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's a separation, right? Everybody feels it's what the energy is, and I'm hearing this so clearly, is it's move out of separation, build unity in the community, reach out to each other, because your other keys are out there waiting for you to discover another part of the I am and work together.
Yeah.
So I feel that's a big reason that there's so many of us wanting to move into community work, and not like I want to do this all by myself, because I don't want to do it. I want to be here with people with soul.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to experience myself and the I am presence in infinite forms. Like I want to see myself in another infinite times. And I remember sitting on the call with Megan and the other lady. Do my puzzle ones. You gonna do your puzzle ones? I know. I'll do it for you when I get off, okay? Go play with something else and then we'll do that together. I know. He wants me to build something. I will build with you, I promise. Look. Hi. Say hi. I know. I will do it. I will do it soon. We'll do it soon, okay? Not right now. Be patient. Not right now, okay? Go ask Austin or Luke, okay?
Austin?
Oh, Daisy. My cat just walked by too.
I know, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
She's like, okay. I don't know.
I was looking down, but I could see her the whole time, like a tail and body. Was reading something.
And then you have a cat behind you. Yeah. Yeah.
And two dogs are like passed out.
Oh, you have cats too?
No, my dogs are right here. So yeah.
So what I was saying was, when I was on the call with Megan and the other woman, and I was connected to Megan and experiencing the same thing she was experiencing, I looked at her and saw me. And it was beautiful. And I think Allie is the one that reminded me that that's like what Namaste is. Like the soul in me recognizes the soul in you, which is the same soul. And so I looked at her, I was like, that's me experiencing this experience. And because I was able to feel it, I could put myself in her shoes. And it was like the Siddhi of empathy too. Because remember, when you hit the Siddhic frequency, it's all cities. It's not just one city. So you have access to all of them. So I was experiencing illumination. I was experiencing empathy. Any of the ones I could have put my finger on and been like, oh yeah, that one and that one and that one and that one, because they're all one. It's all universal love. They all make up universal love. It's all just a love experience. And it was beautiful. So anyways, going back to what illumination is. So remember, this in the shadow, you have the opportunity to see the city in the shadow and the gift through the shadow. It's just about clearing the air and bringing your focus to that other state, because it's present all the time. We're all of them combined together. I even feel like when you're in the Siddhic frequency, it's just the merging of the gift and the shadow. It doesn't separate them. It just merges together into one vibe, into one frequency that you're experiencing all at once. So in order for you to experience the Siddhi, it is about embracing the shadow. It is about embracing the gift, because when you take them all in, that's what creates the Siddhi. It's the acceptance and acknowledgement of each of these frequencies to create the unity of them into one. It's experiencing all of them at once.
And the visual that I'm clearly seeing, like my annoying echo.
Sorry.
It's like when you're walking, you're in a forest, or you're down low, and there's no lights, and it's dark outside. I mean, it's pitch black. And you walk up a hill, and I'm walking up this hill, and it's still so beautiful. It's so dark and quiet. It's just a silence. And then you come to the top of the hill, and at the horizon, you see all of these bright lights, city, right? Right. So then you walk down the hill and you're going into the city, all these bright lights. The darkness is still there. It's just being illuminated by the light. So the darkness still moves through the city, but you don't see it because you're in the city state. The illumination.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. That's a beautiful visual. Hold on, let me shut my door.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. What else were we talking about when we were, the next day when we got on the phone, when we were kind of uncovering and unpacking the experience, because Allie's the one that sent me the last page of the 64 Gene Key, the Siddhi. And it was so cool. And then I sent it to Megan, and we both read it. And the next day we were like, oh my God, we were in the city the whole time. It's just, we decided to focus on the shadow. Let me see if I wrote anything about.
Yeah, Allie, I talked to Allie too. So you sent it to me, and Allie's like, I got in my car and it was on the 64th Gene Key. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this was before we connected in the morning, right? And I was like, wait, that's a programming partner from the 63rd, which is my pearl, right? Is it? Yeah. I didn't think about that. So yeah. And so I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh. So when we connected in the morning, it was like, boom. Yeah,
that was awesome having that experience with you. I think I was walking in Walmart, and then I was in my car, and then we connected again when I got home, and it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was like the best feeling in the world to be able to look at an experience that was less than favorable as it was happening, and see the gift in it, to see the Siddhi in it, to see what it could have been and what it was all along at the same time. It's just we weren't focused on that. So just beautiful. And knowing that no matter what you're going through, you are supported, you are held It's there all the time. The Siddhi is there all the time. The gift is there all the time. It's just, are you ready to shift? Are you ready to look at it from a perspective of love? Are you ready to accept it, embrace it, acknowledge it, and bring it in? Or are you going to sit there and hold it and try to conceptualize it with your mind? Or are you going to dip into your heart and allow your heart to just know? And then you can shift. So, I loved it.
I love everything about this in past days. I mean, even, we even talked a bit about this, about how Gay Pride starts this month, right? And their colors, I just love the gay community because they're just so fun and vibrant, and the rainbow colors that they selected. I mean, this happened, and we're talking about a blank canvas, and then we're talking about paint our palette any way we want, right? So choose the colors that you want to paint. And I was like, it's all about happiness and joy and being in that state. If you want, just being with whatever you're doing, but be present in that moment. It's really about that. And that is creation. You're just creating on the next thing and the next thing. And it's just like, oh, I'll do this color. I'll do red. Oh, I'll throw in some black there. White always looks good with some sparkles, and got to have the purple.
You get to paint your experience. You get to mold it. And it's not just paint. It's whatever you're wanting to create, what medium you're wanting to create with. And we're not talking about literally painting, but you can paint, you can project the movie onto your white screen. You can write in the white pages of your book. You can mold the clay. You can start with a ball, talking about it being 3D like that, and then create something with it. There's so many different possibilities for you to be creative, because we're constantly creating. We're creating experiences. We're creating so many different things. And it all comes down to experiences. And what is the meaning of life is to create experiences, to have experiences, to be that white canvas, and intentionally choose what you want to put on it. Intentionally choose what you want to put out into the world, what you want to experience. So it's beautiful.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I could talk for hours about this, because how I navigated through each one, and then went into the 22nd gene key, and then the 63rd of what, happens there. And then, when you move into doubt, and you move into all of these places within these keys, watching how the pattern that you've created for yourself, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to make a new pattern. I'm going to create a new pattern,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting. And it happened again to me yesterday when I was riding on the bus to go float on the river, which was awesome. It's the same thing. I was hearing everything and hearing nothing. And here's a bus full of people. And all I felt was this euphoria of everyone. And this happens quite often, but I truly do look at people like they're me. I get so engaged in the conversation, because that's oh my gosh, this is so great. This is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's I want to hug everybody all the time.
That's so awesome. Yeah, hug everyone. I've often felt pulling everybody into me. Ask Austin. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to... Okay, I'm going to bring Allie on.
Yes.
And then I'm going to mute myself. So, Allie, if you want to hop on, I sent you... I can't build it right now, Betty. Okay. So, Allie, if you wanna hop on, I'll add you to our trio now. So
hey, Allie, sorry I didn't see your text messages. Here she comes.
Oh. There she is. Okay, adding Allie. Yay!
Hi, guys.
Hi, girl.
Hey.
I see myself down in a weird area in B-Live, so it's hard to describe.
Oh, are you listening? I can hear the echo.
Hang on.
On the other page. Okay. I'm going to mute myself too. So, Allie, I would love to hear your experience with the Siddhi of Illumination, because I know you had been going through the same thing, because it's a collective thing and it's just spreading, and it's all about being mindful and, accepting that experience. So I'll mute myself right now and then I'll let you.
Okay. Okay, I almost had to go, where do I even start? Because there aren't words for this experience for the most part. And that's what I was feeling yesterday when I was in it, all day. It was literally I literally had the feeling. And so for those of you guys who are familiar with Course in Miracles, if you're not, it's just a really interesting text. And there's a workbook and it helps you choose love over fear. That's all a miracle is. So there's this really great section in there where it says, you need do nothing to be in this space. Because source energy is nothing and everything all at once. It needs nothing. It's fulfilled in itself. It's whole in itself. So when you're in acidic state, that's what you're recognizing. And that's the energy that you're feeling into. So it's basically a frequency, right? So it's a frequency. And so when you're in that innate being state, which is all of the cities, they're all one, they're all one state of being. You have this feeling of total peace and calm and joy are the states. It's what you feel literally when you're just sitting there staring at the ocean with not a care in the world, without thoughts, everything. So that's how I was feeling yesterday. And I was recognizing, yesterday I was letting myself just sit in the peace of it, almost like there were just no words that needed to come. There were no thoughts going through my mind. I was just feeling complete calm and peace. And so I was also realizing yesterday that as I went into that state, I felt clear guidance to not need to go anywhere, to do anything, to say anything. There was nothing that was needed for me to do or to be. There was nowhere I felt compelled to go. I just was sitting, just enjoying life, just sitting there with my coffee, sitting there in the field, sitting there at the park by the lake. I was just I literally feel complete. You know what I mean? There was just, and it was almost there weren't words for it to be shared. It was every time I'd have almost a hint of a thought come in, it would just evaporate. And it was the best feeling in the world, because I realized oh, this is what innate love is. And then even that just flipped right out. Right. So it was this beautiful, undisturbed, peaceful time where I was not thinking about the past. I was not sitting in there thinking about the future, wondering what should I do next and where should I go next. I was just sitting there, and there was just nothing that I felt compelled to do, because when you're in this state, you feel complete. So there's no need or desire. You're just existing, and it's a really beautiful state. But in our society, we have been trained over and over and over out of allowing ourselves to be happy. It's literally when people say, be happy, be you, be loving. We literally as a society are what the F does it mean to be? Because we're so pre-programmed out of it. So normally when I get into this state, it's an intention, it's a meditative state. I sit down and I go, I'm going to meditate right now. But yesterday I was just in it. It was just, I woke up and I was in it all day long. And I was just huh. You know what I mean? It felt so good. It almost felt wrong to try and put words to it, because the second we put words to anything or we go do something, we're out of that state. The second we try and describe it, the second we articulate it, the second we think about it, we're not in that being state anymore. I actually believe it's very rare to actually witness someone in a being state. Very, very, very rare. It's very rare to witness someone without thought. You know what I mean? And the second we're witnessing someone else, we're not in that state anymore. Does that make sense? Because it is literally the thoughtless, formless state of the black room of nothing. Even putting words to it doesn't make sense. Describing it as a black room doesn't make sense. But it's the only way that we're able to understand it. So that's where I was. And I was just wow, it was the first time I recognized where my ego didn't jump in and try and judge it. Because like I was saying, we're so programmed out of being in this that our egos will come in and go, this is not right. I should be doing something. This feels like our egos will call it apathy, boredom, and laziness and things like that, and say, this isn't safe. I'm not supposed to be here. Well, you're a human being, not a human doing. So like, and I will tell you the other opposite effect of being out of this state and not allowing ourselves to have this type of peace is that we don't, when we act from that peaceful vibration. We don't speak from that peaceful vibration. We speak in a very different way and act in a very different way. And so it was a conscious choice to just allow myself to be in it. And then when I was being in it, I was actually kind of gently nudged or guided. Like when I felt like I feel complete, I feel like, okay, I'm going to go home now. Like it was just a very like simple, even, peaceful knowing of what to do, moving from that transitory state. But I felt like I was like half in it, half out of it as I drove home, where I just wasn't concerned about time. Like you literally are so present, you exist outside of our constructs of time, which aren't even real, like scientifically aren't real. So I was like driving, and I was guided to drive into a neighborhood I never go into. And I'm looking for places to live. So I was like guided to go into a neighborhood that I never go into. And I literally almost cried because I went, this is it. Like, I just like, so when you're in this state, you're just going to be nudged into this flow, which we're always in. We just don't recognize it because our egos make us feel miserable and what make us want to resist. So it was really cool. And then I just realized my clairvoyance went like, I want to describe things as going crazy, but I'm going to intentionally not do that and just say it was like on high. Like it was like colors were different. Light was different. Everything felt cleaner to me. I felt like the rooms I was in were expanded, like way more spacious. You know what I mean? It was a really beautiful experience too. I was like, oh my God, I'm literally seeing the world differently because of this. Like I'm literally physically seeing the world differently. It was so cool. It was so cool. It was amazing. So yeah, it was almost hard to describe. Like later when I started talking to Ashley later, I was like trying to talk to her and I was like, hang on, I got to come back because I kept losing the words and that's not like me. You know what I mean? I usually know exactly what I want to say or it just like comes right through me. And I was like, I think I need to go. I was like, I think I can't talk right now because it was like, it literally, my body, like my consciousness was like, no, don't do anything. Just sit here. So then Carson and Finn had to go to a birthday party last night and I just like sat on my porch and had a glass of wine and I just did more being. Like even, we don't even know how to describe it. You know what I mean?
Undescribable.
Yeah. And it does feel really good. It does feel like white space, but it was almost like the recognition that I need do nothing with that white space. There's no need to splatter paint on it. You know what I mean? Like, and I recognize that as like, this is like the whole of creation. This is like what what source actually is. It's just this beautiful white space of like, it's complete. You know what I mean? There's nothing that needs to be put there. And white, if you think about the color white, it actually encompasses all of the other colors. So it's just like, I'm cool. Like, so it was really neat.
Yeah. Oh. Let me see. That echo's so annoying.
I know. I'm just sitting here being
so much going on.
Allie, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I liked you guys. I was like listening when you guys were sharing earlier and I was like, yay. Like, cause I like totally understood like conceptualize what you were saying too.
Yeah. 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 Just like
people having different experiences, but with the same like underlying energy and feeling. It's like like Allie was saying, like you don't have to paint on top of it. You don't have to do anything. But what's the beautiful thing about that is I feel like we begin there and we end there and we are there like presently through this whole time. And it's like when you want to do something or be in the doing state, it's when you get to be intentional about what you want to paint on there. Because if you don't want to paint anymore, if you don't want to have experiences anymore, then you can just go back to oneness. You can just go back to that Siddhic state. And it's beautiful. And it's like, it's our being here is our choice. That's why it's our choice, is because we're creating, because we're here, we're having experiences. And so it's awesome choosing to be and choosing to do. It's like a in between, like be and do, be and do, be and do. And we get to choose when we're being and when we're doing. And I remember having, like, I my whole life I've been able to just get into that blank space of like nothingness, where you're just literally like sitting back. There's no thoughts. You're just observing. And I don't know. It's just awesome to be in that space and just be. It feels good there. It feels comforting there. I like it.
Yeah, I love observing. I could sit and just watch everything go on around me and smile like the whole time, like I'm doing right now. Like it's beautiful just to watch everything. It's so perfectly aligned however it needs to be. It's, again, to put words to it is I don't know how. You just see such the beauty in what's going on around you that you're just watching everything like, wow. And everything. I'm not just saying like people picking daisies. I'm saying everything that I look at is so beautiful, of how people are choosing to create. And if they don't want to create that way, they'll navigate it. So if something's going on, don't put into that creation anymore. Go a different place, or you want to create somewhere else, you know? But there's no right or wrong. It's all right.
Mm-hmm. Just what you choose to focus on, where you want to put your energy towards, how you want to operate as separate, and decide where to flow, where to go. It's like you don't have to, like, yes, we are one, we are united, but you don't have to choose to have experience. Like, you get to choose your experience, you get to choose your life, you get to direct your life. So yeah, I love it. Totally agree. Do you have anything else to add, Allie?
Well, I was just thinking about how like I could have had this experience of peace the last weekend, but I had such a stressful event going on that I was being told over and over again, there's nothing you need to do here to change. The outcome is going to be what it's going to be. You're being told and guided. And it did turn out exactly like that without me doing a damn thing. But my ego came in and I got so scared. What if, because this was a big thing. What if this doesn't happen this way? What if it doesn't work out? What if I could have changed it? Like I really, really was like pee my pants, like anxiety scared all weekend, which is very rare for me to be in that state of fear for a prolonged period of time anymore. Usually I can shift really quickly. But this was such a big deal to me. So I was just sitting there and I realized like, I just have to let go. Like finally, like 3 days into this, I realized I just have to like really let go of this. And I've still had some moments of going like swaying back and forth, but not to that extent that I was in. And so now looking back on it, I'm like, I could, if I had really let go and said, it's time to just like choose peace and allowed myself that, the outcome wouldn't have been any different, because the only difference was not in my actions, not in what I was trying to do about the situation. I still didn't try to do anything about the situation. I asked for help. I asked for guidance. I talked with my friends, but the situation itself, I didn't touch. And I was like, what if I had just let myself peace and didn't touch it versus went and got all stressed out and didn't touch it? The outcome was still the same. And it was exactly what I was told it would be by just leaning back. And I was like, there's a big difference between us leaning back energetically and emotionally, and like us leaning back as in, oh, well, I'm just taking my hands off, but I'm still going to stress the fuck out. You know what I mean? There's a really, really big difference. And I think a lot of us don't recognize it. So I was like, when we start to go into creation mode, I think this mode of choosing, like consciously choosing the actions and the intention and where we're coming from, and knowing that there's nothing that touches our innate worth or our innate value, or the fact that we are love. You know what I mean? That we're existing in this acidic state all the time. It's just a frequency. There's no difference between any of these fucking gene keys. They're all the same thing. You know what I mean? Like they're all just frequency, like, and it's actually all, in my perspective, the one frequency. We just have the illusion of having shadow states and different things. So it's really very much like I had to like reground myself. And I was like, what if we just all were very hyper aware of, well, I choose peace first. I choose to give myself peace every damn morning before I do another damn thing in my house or I get up or whatever. And then I set my intention with my day. And before each of my actions, I'm choosing the vibration and the thought that I'm in prior to that. You know what I mean? I was like, I would have had a totally different weekend had I been, doing that. And I was still practicing, like consciously saying, okay, I want to choose love instead of this. Help me change my perception. Help me change my perception is what I kept asking for over and over. And even then I was like, wow, like I'm pretty zen most of the time. And I was like, but I could remember the days when I wasn't. And I was like, I feel like this is like a lot of what this discussion is for, is not just the describing of what is the Siddhi of Illumination or what is the blank slate, but it's to help people understand that it's possible to be in it more and more and more. Consciously choosing it is up to you,
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I have no words. There are no words.
No words.
No words. Yeah. I love it. And I love the redirection too, and saying like, guys, you don't have to understand this shadow, the Siddhi, the gift. You don't have to put words to it. That's just to tell your mind to calm down, to let go, to hands off. I feel like most of the time the reason that we're trying to conceptualize things is to convince ourselves to just be. So like we're needing all this convincing to be, when the choice can be simple and you can just be and trust. Get into your heart and just trust. Mm-hmm. It comes down to trust, right? Always trusting yourself to just be. So
yeah,
the old school thinking of I need to do X, Y, and Z, and then I can have happiness. I need to be educated, and then I can make money, and then I can get a job, and then I can retire, and then I can be happy. So it's kind of like our ego wants to understand. I need to read the book and understand, and then I'll be happy because then I'll understand. But like if you let go of needing to understand, and you're like, I don't need to do a damn thing. Mm-hmm. I just need to accept it for myself that it's already there. I'm just not seeing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead we're like taking it off a little bit to see, and it's like, okay, instead of just like jumping in, are you the person that's going to like dip your toe in, or are you just going to fucking jump in? Mm-hmm. You get to decide your experience too. It's all an experience. So you can choose whatever way you want. Because again, like Allie was saying, like it's always going to end to the same result. Like she could have stressed out about it and gotten to the same result, or she could have leaned back and had peace and being about it, and she could have had the same result. So just you all get, yeah. You get to choose. So is there anything else you ladies want to add before we wrap it up?
Trust yourself.
Trust yourself. When you were saying that earlier, Megan, you're like, I'll say it one more time. Yeah. I felt my heart just go, I was like, whoa, so much energy with that.
Yeah. Happy you received that.
Yes. At the last one, I was like, open up, Ashley, and receive it. Because I was hearing it here, but the last time you're like, I'll say it one more time. I heard it. I listened here, Mm-hmm. So let it in, everyone. So with that, thank you, Megan, and thank you, Allie, for joining us in this discussion. And I really appreciate you guys sharing your experiences. And I want to make note that we're all collectively experiencing the same thing. So we should be talking about this more. We should be having conversations more because we're all going through it. And I'm sure each and every one of you watching this has had an experience like this too. You may not have been mindful or understood what was behind it or lifted, the illusion away from your eyes, but we're all experiencing it at the same time. So I think we're going to be doing this more frequently, more often, coming on live or on YouTube or whatever we decide to do to talk about our shared experiences, because we're wanting to create that unity through experiences. And I'm excited for what's to come and excited for what we have brought today. So thank you again, ladies, and I love you all, and I can't wait to do this again with you guys.
I love you. Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.